There are a lot of opinions out there about what the UFC should have done or shouldn't have done in regards to moving the fight card from one location to another, especially with the controversy surrounding Jon Jones. But can we all agree that UFC 232 was a massive success? At the very least, from a fight fan's perspective? Because I thought it was. I thought it was a huge success, a great night of mixed martial arts, and I'm gonna go through a few of my favorite fights on the card, and let's just talk about it for a few minutes. The very first fight on the card, Curtis Millender versus that guy, I can't say his name. It really set the bar high for the whole card. It was an incredible fight, and man, Curtis has some beautiful, beautiful kickboxing. He reminded me so much of Jon Jones with his approach to Muay Thai. A lot of front leg side kicks, obliques, elbows on the inside, the ability to switch stances so seamlessly. I was saying during the fight, win or lose, this is a guy I'm going to be keeping my eye on for the future. He's a very impressive striker, and even though he has a huge glaring hole in his game, his grappling to be specific, I think if he's smart and he has more than enough time to plug that hole, and he really needs to. He really needs to, especially because he's in the Woodley weight division full of dominant wrestlers. He's got to work on that grappling, has to work on it. The next fight that was shocking to me was Uriah Hall versus Bevan Lewis, who is another really, really impressive Jon Jones style striker. He came out firing off the bat, throwing elbows, knees, obliques, switching stances, mixing it up well, just really, really well, and you could immediately clearly tell that he was trained by Mike Winkeljohn. He had the whole blueprint, and he was doing a great job of that. He won the first and the second round clearly before getting caught with a big shot from Uriah Hall and flattened. And this is the issue that I personally have with the Mike Winkeljohn system. He teaches every one of his strikers to strike just like this, and it is effective offensively because you're grounded. The shots are designed to discourage forward movement with the obliques to the thighs, the teeps to the gut, the elbows once you enter the pocket, but occasionally, because of the system, you will take shots. It's inevitable, and you gotta have a solid chin to fight like this. And it works great for Jon Jones because he does have a solid chin. But when you have a fighter who isn't quite durable and can't exactly absorb the shots when it does sneak in, it is a recipe for disaster, and that's exactly what happened here. One clean right hand was all Uriah needed to ruin all the good work this man did in rounds 1 and 2. It was really bittersweet for me because I enjoy watching the Mike Winkeljohn system in action. I love when it works, but I didn't enjoy watching it displayed all over Uriah Hall's face because I do like the guy. And then when Hall defeated the system, it was sad watching it crumble. And then it was sweet again, with how gracious Uriah was after he won. He had some really inspirational things to say afterwards. And overall, man, it was a good fight and a great comeback win from Uriah. I really enjoyed that one. The next fight that got me was Ryan Hall submitting BJ Penn. It's like one of those things that leaves you thinking, like, how good does someone need to be at their craft to pull something like this off? We're talking about BJ Penn here, an accomplished black belt in jiu-jitsu, a man who has never been submitted in a mixed martial arts fight, to get submitted by one of the rarest submissions in MMA, a rolling heel hook. It was amazing, man. It really was. And it just goes to show how high level Ryan Hall is at grappling. Now that makes it 6 losses in a row now for BJ Penn. It's time to hang it up. We say this every time BJ Penn steps in there and loses. It's time to hang it up. It's time to hang it up. But really, it is time to stop. You're done, man. You're done. Now the next fight that had me going, what the heck, was Cat Zingano versus Megan Anderson. First of all, and I've said this before, Megan Anderson is built like, how in EA UFC when you go on Ultimate Team or in Quick Match and you see a creative fighter and you think to yourself, those are some ridiculous proportions. No one actually looks like that in real life. That's Megan Anderson. Her legs goes on for days, man. She's like a grasshopper. Long limbs, broad shoulders, and a small head packed into a 6'1" frame. And with those long legs, man, she tried to kick Zingano in the head, and instead of connecting with the head, her toe goes right into Zingano's right eye. And that was it, man. That was it. There was no coming back from that. And a lot of people were asking, like, why wasn't it treated like an eye poke? Why wasn't she given 5 minutes to try and recover and then continue? And Big John was actually able to give us a pretty damn good explanation for that on Twitter. He wrote, "You punch with a closed fist. If you sustain an eye injury based upon a legal punch, the eye injury could lead to you losing the fight via TKO. A fighter cannot control toes in the same fashion they can fingers. That's why we do not call toe pokes to the eye." So basically, it's like getting punched in the eye with a closed fist. It's not gonna get called an eye poke, and you won't get enough time to recover from that. So if a fighter gets punched in the eye with a closed fist and they can't, recover from that in time, it's gonna be called a TKO. You lose that fight via TKO. So because a fighter cannot control their toes like they can their fingers, if you get a toe to the eye on a kick and you can't recover quick enough, it's a TKO. Makes sense to me, makes perfect sense. Unfortunate for Cat Zingano, but every single update that I've seen from her shows that she's doing just fine. But still, man, not exactly how any of us would have liked to see that fight end, especially because Cat was actually doing some fairly decent work with her movement, and she was throwing some really nice kicks. She threw a few obliques in there, threw a few lead and rear kicks to the leg. I actually enjoyed watching her move around the cage and try to find her range and find the opening to go for the takedown, which is what she was clearly looking for. But it's really unfortunate that the fight ended like that. I wish that she would have kept her hands up more, especially while circling away from the cage like that. It's always good to keep those hands up because you don't know what's coming. Moving on to Carlos Condit versus Michael Chiesa, and man, this one annoyed me. It really did. And don't get me wrong, man, Michael Chiesa did his thing, but it's the same story every single time with Carlos Condit. He always gets taken down, he always gets grounded, it's always the same game plan, nothing changes with this guy. And as a fan of Condit, it is so frustrating. He is so easy to take down, and after years and years and years of getting laid on by everyone, you would think this dude would have elevated his wrestling both offensively and defensively, especially because you're not a champ. You're not a champ. You're most likely going to be doing a lot of 3-round fights. You don't have time to get laid on. You don't have time to be on your back in a 3-round fight. You don't have time to try to take them into deep waters. You just don't. He has remained stagnant at the same place, zero improvement in that aspect, and it is disappointing as hell, man. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Next fight after that was the anticipated Cris Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes title fight, and people, it delivered. Now, before the fight, I was kind of worried a bit that, they would have too much respect for each other's punching power, and maybe because of all that, they'll be tentative, unsure of themselves, leading to a boring fight. But boy, was I wrong. It was the complete opposite. They had no respect for each other's power. There was no fear, no hesitation, no second guessing. They met in the middle and they threw down. And when the punches started to fly, you really got to see the technical difference between the two of them. Amanda was able to test Cyborg's ego with a beautiful sweeping leg kick that knocked Cyborg off balance. And right there, Cyborg was like, hell no, I'm the big dog in here. You're not gonna knock me off balance. And you saw her whole demeanor change from, okay, I'm gonna be measured and pick my shots, to, I gotta get that back. She marched forward, backed up Amanda, started swinging wildly with hooks. Amanda brilliantly moved her head off the center line, left, right, and Cyborg takes a knee. From this moment, I was screaming, back up, regroup, Cyborg. This is not the way. But man, she got up, marched forward again with wild hooks, and in the Anderson Silva fashion when he fought Chris Lieben, Amanda took a slight step back at the perfect range and met her head on with a straight right that buckled her again. From here, man, Cyborg started to realize that she absolutely needs to stop swinging, and she needs to recover, she needs to back up, she needs time to recover. But at this point, man, it was too late. She's too hurt. And now she's like a deer in the headlights, and this is the worst place you want to be against Amanda. She's a complete Terminator when you're like this against the cage, turtled up, scared. Another right hand over the top, and Cyborg is down again, gets up, and Amanda tags her with a right, left, one more right, left, and Cyborg takes a knee again, one more clean right over the top, and Cyborg falls flat on her face, and the fight is over. Out of all the ways that fight could have ended, a first round knockout where Cyborg is the one getting knocked out is the craziest outcome. But it happened right before our very eyes, and guys, I could not believe it while I was watching it. A woman who hadn't lost a fight since 2005 loses by knockout to Amanda Nunes. Amazing stuff. Absolutely incredible. And then Dana White comes into the cage, hands her 2 belts, and we got ourselves one more champ in the UFC. This time a Brazilian, a woman, a fucking powerful lioness of a woman, and it couldn't have happened to a more deserving person, man. Massive congratulations to Amanda Nunes. I'm very happy for her. She's the legend killer. She is the legend killer. Destroyed Miesha Tate, tapped her out, knocked Ronda Rousey into another dimension, and now she has knocked out Cris Cyborg, something that has never been done before. And man, I am looking forward to who on earth out there can beat this woman. I don't think there's anyone out there. I really don't, but we'll see. And now let's talk about the main event. Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. Now, I'm not going to talk about the controversy before the fight because I simply don't care. Okay, if you want to listen to someone talk about it, there are hundreds of videos on YouTube right now where people saying exactly what you want to hear. Go watch those. Okay, just go watch those. In this video, I'm only going to talk about the fight because that's all I care about. Now, coming into this fight, the question was, when Jon Jones said he didn't take Gustafsson seriously the first time they fought and he didn't train for the fight, was he being truthful? And 2, are we going to see a much easier fight this time between both of them? And the answer to both questions is a big, fat, loud yes. What we saw in this fight was a Jon Jones that came in with a strategy, a man who is well educated on the opponent he was facing, a man who was able to make solid adjustments, and the biggest adjustment that he made was approaching a boxer with the respect the boxer deserves. Now, there are 2 ways that you can do this, okay? You can crash into them and make their shots so short it's not effective, or you can stay out of reach at all times. So you're either all the way in or you're all the way out. Now, some fighters like Edson Barboza, they tend to always go with the all the way out strategy, and some guys like Cain Velasquez, they like to go with the all the way in strategy, like when he fought JDS a second and third time. Other fighters though, they like to go with both, and we saw this throughout Floyd Mayweather's career. For example, he stays on the outside, and once the puncher makes his way in, he crashes into him, clinches up, takes away the punches, takes away the power, works on the inside, disengages, and goes back to outside fighting. This is the strategy that Jon Jones used for striking in this fight. He was never in boxing range. It was either kicking range or we're clinching. And he was able to recognize this range due to months of drilling and training and studying. Man, watching this fight, you could tell Gustafsson was so uncomfortable being the one trying to get on the inside. You know, a lot of times fighters are trying to get to Gustafsson, and he's able to dance around the octagon, pick his shots, decide when to throw, when to move, you know. But this time around, man, very similar to how Cody Garbrandt made Dominic Cruz, you know, the footwork master, actually lead the whole fight. It was really off-putting for Gustafsson having to lead the fight. And you can tell that he just does not lead as good as he counters. He did try his best though, he did, and he tried to establish, you know, that boxing range by closing that distance with kicks too, but Jon Jones brilliantly set the tone that he will be looking for takedowns really early, because every single time Gus would throw a kick early in the fight, Jones would catch that leg and try to take him down, and that discouraged kicks from Gustafsson. Really brilliant game plan by Jon Jones right there. Now basically what I saw in this fight was both guys playing the other's game. Gustafsson was too flat-footed. That's what we usually see from Jon Jones, plotting, Muay Thai, grounded. You know, this time it was Gustafsson being more flat-footed than we're used to seeing from him. And sure, you could attribute that to the leg kicks and the obliques and all that, but still, it's very unlike him to move so little in a fight. While Jones, on the other hand, was very fleet-footed, very light on his feet, using the whole octagon, moving around, maintaining that kicking range, and fighting at a very old-school style, Jon Jones style pace, where he's almost sleepy and lethargic, just, you know, picking, taking his time. It reminded me so much of how he used to fight when fighters didn't really know to really push him and put a high pace on him. Like when he fought Rashad, Rampage, Shogun, when he fought guys like Vitor Belfort, just, you know, just really relaxed and straight to the point, like almost karate style point fighting. In the corner, you know, before round 2, Greg reminded Jon to relax, just keep flowing like that, don't force anything, just let things happen organically. And man, I was so overjoyed hearing that advice, because it's a philosophy I personally live by when it comes to fighting. It's gonna come. The knockout, the takedown, whatever you're looking for, it's gonna come. No need to force it. As long as you match your opponent's pace, if you're slower paced and you can match that pace, or if they're coming at you quick with a fast pace and you can match that pace, as long as you match your opponent's pace and you're hitting them more than they're hitting you, and you have enough conditioning to maintain whatever pace it is your opponent is going at, you're fine. Whatever it is you're looking for, it's gonna come. In round number 2, it was mostly the same. But in round number 3, Gus, of course, came out more aggressive, faster paced, which of course, Jon Jones upped his own pace. He was able to match that. He went for a takedown, got it, stayed on top, secured top position, and rained down hell on Gustafsson, which eventually led to a TKO victory for Jon Jones. This time, man, he left no doubt. It wasn't a decision, it wasn't a close fight, it wasn't a war, which means it was nowhere near as good of a fight as their first fight was, of course, but it was dominant. And as a Jon Jones fan, this is the type of fight I like to see from Jon Jones. I don't want to see him in wars or a back and forth close fight where there's a question of, did he win it or did he lose it? Was he gifted a decision? No, I want him dominant, where there's no doubt at all that he was the better man on the night. You know, I'd also like to see Jon Jones without controversy, of course, but man, I've personally learned to live with it. You know, is it possible that this great win is gonna get overshadowed by some bullshit in the future? Absolutely. Yes, when Jon Jones is concerned, you literally have your fingers crossed all day. Fingers crossed, freaking teeth crossed, toes crossed, legs crossed, whole entire part of your body crossed, hoping, praying that nothing happens. But man, it always does, and I'm already ready for whatever else is gonna happen whenever it does happen. Hopefully this time it's different, but that's the hope. I'm not holding my breath. But that's it for this recap, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the card. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know, and I'll see you guys later.